And as we see cars start to roll out to pit lane through the gasoline alley break here, this is when that energy starts to ramp up for these mechanics. They've been here. Most of the call times for these mechanics are 4:30, 5 a.m. Get here, maybe get a nap, get some breakfast, maybe watch a little of the pre-race from Monaco, watch some of the Monaco Grand Prix in the garages, make sure nothing's moved over the course of the weekend, everything looks like it's supposed to. And also I think there's a chance now for the engineers, especially this morning, to do a little pre-work, right? Because biggest race in the world today. Tomorrow, you got to start thinking about Detroit, right? We go racing again next weekend. So the engineers maybe starting to do some setup work, think ahead, even if it's just to stay sane so they're not too locked into what's going to happen today and worrying themselves so much that they get overloaded. But you work a little bit ahead, but I think we're about ready to get joined by an incredible promoter, a great guy, president of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and IndyCar, Mr. Doug Boles.
Charlie, how are you? Nathan,
Doug,
good morning.
Morning.
How are you guys?
Pretty good. The question is, how are you doing? Did you get any sleep last night?
I got a little bit, actually. I don't normally, but last night I probably got an hour and not quite an hour and a half. But I sat down, I wrote my letter to staff to thank the staff for all that they do, and took a shower in the absolute dark because everybody was asleep in the camper. I didn't want to turn any lights on. And then I sat in bed and looked at emails. The next thing I know, I'm like, I think I slept a little bit, which was pretty cool because I normally don't.
So what are you doing overnight as you, now I know in your new role, president of IndyCar, along with president of IMS, what are you doing this day before, night before, getting ready for this race from your seat?
Well, so most of everything we're doing is just make sure everything's set. We actually go through the manifested tickets, make sure that all the, some temporary seats and some of those things are out, make sure everything's cleaned up, make sure the snake pit's ready to go because they had to convert from Carb Day. We had Natalie Grant come in last night late to test. We had Tom Brady here with Jimmy Johnson to make sure they were ready to go in the two-seater. So just making sure all those pieces are put together, and then I spent my time out in the Coke lot and in the town of Speedway walking around hanging out with fans and the guy with raccoons all over his back. I mean, it was just a crazy night, but it was a lot of fun.
It's been an incredible month. You guys have sold out seats. Your team has done an awesome job promoting, selling, fulfilling. Like, everyone I've talked to has the highest level of praise for your team and the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. What do you feel on race morning on a sold-out day like this? What do you look around and it reminds you what is so special about this place?
Well, my note, it's funny you say that, my note to staff last night was we finally did it. We sold it out in a year that wasn't the 100th running. It's really, really special. And I just remind the team to take care of each other, support each other, but I want them to pause for a minute and look around and realize what they've done. They've set a stage for 350,000 people to make memories here and for 33 drivers to have a chance at immortality in motorsport. So for me, the biggest thing for me is just that I want them to take the pride in what they've been able to set the stage for. And, that's kind of where I am. I just like watching staff do their thing and have a good time and interact with customers. And I just want them to remember. It's real easy when you're busy and, as a driver, right, you're so focused on it. And then all of a sudden you don't take a moment to go, man, I got the coolest job in the world. Look at this place and all our entire staff that helped us get here. I just want them to celebrate themselves, right? And that's so for me, it's just trying to encourage the team to take a minute and then get right back and get focused. And we'll do a little celebration tonight, a little toast. But I just want them to look around when the start happens and know that they put something real special together.
So I know we won't have quite as many people in the venue as 2016,
Correct.
But sold out the grandstands all the same. Did I hear right that you guys actually had more folks here for Carb Day than 2016?
Yes,
here on Friday?
Which is crazy to have Carb Day like that. But you're right, we'll be a little under 26. Actually, in 2016, we added 3,000 seats on the north end of Tower Terrace and some others. So we had about 235,000 permanent seats sold for 2016. So we're a little under there. And I think my guess is we're going to be in the 3,000 to 5,000 range less in terms of GA. So it's not going to be quite 2016, but selling out the grandstands is pretty special.
Yeah, but you're talking 3,000 to 5,000 out of 350.
Oh, no, I know.
That's a
right,
monumental effort, Doug.
Yeah.
And it's obvious the passion that you bring, not just to this place, but to IndyCar now in this new role. What has been different this month with those two roles melding? I know you've had challenges on the IndyCar side. There are always challenges. There's always speed bumps, right? But what has been different that you were weren't necessarily expecting to see?
Well, I think the challenge really is the point at which it really hit me that it's different. So the promoter in me, is always wanting to talk about how great our sport is, always wanting to introduce people to our sport. And when we had our challenge this Sunday in qualifying, it's immediately trying to figure out how do you turn off the promoter and turn on the lawyer and the business side of it. And it was uncomfortable. But so that's the biggest challenge is trying to divide those two personalities inside this one body. And it's easier to do when you're not dealing with a big challenge. And then we dealt with a big challenge really so I went to graduation at Carter on Sunday, right?
Congratulations.
Which was really cool. But by the time I got back here, I missed everything else. I didn't get to have the family dinner celebration. I didn't get, because I was here and literally up all night. So I missed all that, but it was, so really from that point on, almost until the concert on Friday, was really the first point where I went, okay, I'm back to where I want to be for the Indianapolis 500. So that challenge is trying to figure out how to balance those two parts of the job. I think what has been the most difficult, and I'm most comfortable in this part of the job, right? This is the part of the job I love. And then having to go through the other one, especially given the fact that it was a rough call to the boss, right? But we'll see hopefully I don't have to deal with a lot of that.
On a day like today, when you're both the president of IMS and the president of IndyCar, what kind of a split between those two roles are you? Are you very much more in this IMS role today, or what does your day look like, and how are you splitting your responsibilities?
So I'm probably more in the IMS role today. Certainly, you've got Kyle Novak and Mark Sybil and the entire team, that's really managing what's going to happen on track today. Just checking in with them, making sure that they're good. And then if they need me as the race goes on, then I'll get involved. I'll be close to race control if we have an incident on track or something, so that I at least can be involved in that. But for the most part, at some level, I want to be removed from that too. I want Kyle to feel like he can make decisions and Mark to feel like he can make decisions. And if they need me, I'll get pulled in there. And really, a lot of the love you too. A lot of the focus for me is really on, like I called Chris Blair to check in with Chris at Gateway to say, look, what do we need to be doing? I'm trying to get ahead of it and start thinking about what are we doing for the series past today.
Mm-hmm. And you got a few things going on today. You encourage your staff to take a moment and soak in what they've done. What does that moment look like for you?
Well, there's two today for me in particular. I get a chance to drive the Boyle Special, Wilbur Shaw's car here at about 10:30. And then I've done that once before in pre-race and literally going down the backstretch, just talking to Wilbur out loud while I'm driving, and tears coming down my face because just the connection to the guy who wins 3 Indy 500s, becomes president, and that car is such an iconic car. And then you look and see all the people around. So that's the other one. And then standing at the front of the grid before I get in that pace car to help drive things around at the start, and back home again in Indiana. And that's when I really realized the Indianapolis Motor Speedway is on an international stage, and there are 40 different countries represented in the grandstands, all 50 states. But for those 90 seconds, everybody's a Hoosier. And that, to me, is one of the most powerful, it is the most powerful part of the year for me, not just race day.
And I think it's such an iconic statistic that 1 out of every 1,100 Americans is going to be in Speedway, Indiana. And what an opportunity to showcase not only an incredible sport, an incredible race, an incredible venue, but an incredible city and state. I call myself a Californian Hoosier, and I live it because every time we come back home again in Indiana, it reminds us how great this place is as a state, not just because of the Indy 500, but in big part because of it.
100%. I always say, my job's to sell tickets. But if all I do is sell tickets, I've failed in the platform I've been given. That platform for me is really talking about how great this community is. Starts with the town of Speedway, rolls into the city, and is certainly about the state. So that's definitely one of the things for me that I'm always trying to talk about. The idea that we get to share today with the Pacers is amazing. And, all the people that come in, the focus on Indianapolis is so great. It's 1 in 1,100 people in the U.S., but inside the track today, it is the second largest city in the state of Indiana, literally inside the racetrack. I mean, it's really crazy to think about. This city of 275 acres inside this 1,000-acre campus is the second largest city in the state of Indiana. It's pretty impressive.
As we look at some of these big storylines today, you're a historian of this race and this track. We've got Kyle Larson doing the double, Joseph trying to do something no one has ever done and winning 3 straight.
And winning from the last row, right?
Exactly,
I mean, it's a double thing there for him.
No
if
one
he could
has
do
ever
it.
done as well. You've got some incredible drivers who I know would make a lot of noise if they won for the first time. Among some of these storylines we're looking at, what's something that you are acutely keeping an eye on outside of how Conor Daly does today in this race.
Certainly paying attention to that one. And close to Conor would be Ed, right? Ed Carpenter wasn't born here, but for all intents and purposes is a native of Indianapolis, so that would be pretty big. Helio on the fifth is, and I'm mixed on that, right? I think it'd be really cool to have the fifth, but I also love the fact that we have four-time winners. And as Rick Mears told Helio in 2021, that 5-time win thing's a lonely club. You don't want to join that club. So a lot of those, and then Ken Palou do his thing. A rookie on the pole, first time since Teo Fabi, which is crazy. A lot of great things. I just hope it's a safe race. I hope there's that Cinderella story none of us have heard about. Maybe not a winner, but somebody that comes and has a great finish. I mean, you know what it's like, right? You just never know. You strap that car on, and who knows what happens. And there will be some storyline that comes out of this that we aren't thinking about right now.
And this place absolutely picks the winner. She does. We've seen that in years. I've been part of races where she's picked the winner. Looking back and reflecting on the month so far, what's been your favorite storyline, your favorite moment that went, yeah, that's what makes this month of May so special before we get to the race?
Well, for me, I think the most special moment was Carb Day. Just seeing the number of people that showed up on Carb Day and how much fun people had. The number of kids we have had this month has been outstanding, so that's been pretty powerful for me to see. But Carb Day, and I kind of do this every year, we have practice, and you know how it is. You go out and there's a few thousand people here, and it's pretty empty. The place is huge. And then Carb Day comes around, and you go, oh my gosh, and the people on Carb Day, and then we just times it by 6 or 5 or whatever it is for today. So Carb Day is always that moment where I go, oh yeah, this is a special place. And like I said, it is Christmas Day for me, 100%.
Yep. I know you've worked really closely with Eric Shanks and his team over at Fox today. For folks who aren't at the track and who are watching this race from home, a really special broadcast in store for them. What are you most excited about what you and Eric and both of your guys' teams were able to put together for this first broadcast of the Indy 500 on Fox?
I'm really excited about pre-race. I think pre-race is going to be outstanding. We got the two-seater back again. Having Jimmy Johnson drive Tom Brady in the two-seater is pretty cool.
A couple of goats, right?
I know, it's crazy, right? And I'm a Peyton guy, right? And a Colts guy. And, Tom Brady's kind of like the devil in Indianapolis, right? I got a chance to meet him last night. The dude's huge. But the smile on his face and how excited he was to be here, and it's like, okay, I like you now because you like this place. But all of the pre-race, I think, is going to be outstanding. Eric Shanks had this crazy idea of having some helicopters fly over on the first lap going around. That's going to be cool. They're going to use drones like they've never used drones before. We had to talk to the drivers in the drivers meeting about both those things so that they're aware of it. But I think the way they're going to cover the driver's eye camera, they've just invested so much in the consumer at home's experience of how they see and learn and feel about NTT IndyCar Series racing. So for me, it's the pre-race and then just all the different cameras. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun.
You mentioned to me when we were talking about Eric earlier this month and his impact on bringing this first Indy 500 to Fox that you guys were working on something special that if you guys pulled off would be really cool. Is that what you were talking about with the helicopters or something else?
No, it was getting helicopters in and trying to do that and that having them fly basically at eye level with the folks in the paddock penthouse, and that's it's just that kind of stuff is really cool for us to do. I told you from the very moment we announced the number of text messages early on and now phone calls almost every day. He'll check in the evening, say, hey, how are things going? To have an executive like that care so much of our sport, have so many ideas, be here as part of it. We're really lucky to have him, and I know we've had up and downs on the ratings in terms of year-over-year stuff. But it's a long-term play that I think is absolutely going to pay off because of the investment and the passion that they have for the brand and making sure that we grow it.
Before we let you go here, we start to get close to this pre-race pageantry that we all look so much forward to. What is your favorite moment of these pre-race ceremonies that we have here for the 500?
I think I alluded to it a minute ago. My favorite moment of pre-race, but my favorite moment of the year is back home again in Indiana. Mm-hmm. There's nothing quite. I got to do a really cool thing yesterday. So I have a tradition with Jim Cornelius, and after he gets done performing, because we do a rehearsal, on Saturday. So about 4:30 or 5 o'clock, he's done, and we meet at the pagoda and we celebrate together with a beer. And so we were sitting drinking the beer. I said, "Hey, have you done the starting line experience at the museum? The renovated museum? Because what do you think about seeing yourself there? Because he's part of it." And he said, "I haven't been yet." So I took him over, and the two of us standing there and watching his expression and listening to him talk about how cool it is to see him, because he doesn't see it from that angle, right? So that was really cool to do with him. But that's my favorite 90 seconds. Tears rolling down my face. Turn right around. I get in a Corvette and end up running 130 miles an hour down the backstretch with some executive who I say, "Hello, how are you? Thanks for being here. Let's go." It's pretty cool.
That's very cool. Well, Doug Boles, IMS and IndyCar president, thanks so much for joining us on Pit Pass Live. Hope you have a great 500.
Thank you.
Thanks,
As a big
Jeff.
fan of the Indy 500, IndyCar, thanks for what you're doing, Doug. You're doing a heck of a job.
I
Keep
appreciate
it
it. Well, love it like you guys do. Thanks so much.
Yep, thanks, Doug. Yep.
up. Enjoy.
All right.